The AAA industry is just pathetic at this point. Imagine, some company does the impossible. They just make a game that's fun. They just make a game that they themselves would want to play. And it sells literally tens of millions instantaneously. It's the best thing since sliced bread. And why? Is it because it's the best game ever? No. Actually, it's not even unique. It doesn't do anything new. It does everything everyone has already done, but it does things well and it's fun. And turns out that's all that matters. And then AAA notices this, sees this, demands that it gets stopped, tells you to not love it, tells you to hate it, in fact, and then doesn't understand how this concept of making things that people like actually works, because that's not the way that they do things. Absolutely pathetic. And the funny part is, this is the story of pretty much every AAA industry now. Blizzard, Ubisoft, BioWare. So many examples of these people just being completely out of touch.
We're drama farming today. Yeah, that's right. We're doubling back because apparently Palworld has broken people's minds instead of just celebrating
I wanted to call this video Palworld Has Broken People. I don't think I can now. Oh, that's sad.
the game for the success that it's found and also for the fact that Nintendo finally has a real competitor for Pokemon. No, you have people that have fallen into psychosis, a deep level of coping that we never even thought was possible. Scientists need to study this thing because, man, is it horrendous. In the face of Palworld's continued success, and oh man, is it successful, these people just won't let it be. Palworld derangement syndrome, where regardless of the fact.
Yeah, unironically, Palworld came out, massive success. Pretty much over 2 weeks, it became one of the biggest games ever. And now, the 1.0 release, and it's doing it again. It's proving that it wasn't a fluke. And you know what's the best part? People are loving it more. People have more good things to say about it. People like it a lot more. It didn't ignore the people when they said that they don't like this, that this should be changed, that this should be added. They embraced a lot of it. Now, granted, you can't honestly embrace everything because sometimes, let's be real, as gamers, we demand some wild stuff that's impractical and probably bad, but it did sound cool for a moment, so here we are anyway. So, they embraced a lot of the feedback, and the game got better because of it. And no other company has done something as simple as that for decades. Look at Diablo 4. Dead. Because it never even tried to embrace the feedback. And when it did, it was the feedback of people who should never be taken seriously because those were the leftovers.
Facts that are right in front of them, this game has to constantly be under attack. You have people accusing Palworld and Pocket Pair of walking into Nintendo's offices and stealing assets right off of their desks. You got some people that are saying that
I literally saw them do this like yesterday. I swear I saw it.
Regardless of what you're seeing online, don't believe a damn thing because this game, it's actually a failure. It's a flop. It's a laughing stock in most countries. You guys just don't see it because it's not.
Also, by the way, I just want to point out, because this conversation always happens, Palworld, no wokeness in sight. How are the crazy people gonna actually deal with this? Palworld not woke. Not a single person has a. I don't think even a single person has ever seen call it woke. How are these people gonna cope that no one's calling Palworld woke? Like, how is this possible? And it succeeded. Because there's already a group of people who are trying to claim, oh, Palworld's an LGBTQ vanilla soup type of ally. Okay, buddy. Okay, just a little bit psychotic, but I mean, it's another Tuesday.
Real. And even if this game is popular, well, the only reason why is because of internet grifters and YouTubers.
God damn those grifters. I hate them so much. Like the video, please press the like. It takes less than a second. It helps me grift even harder, and I love it. God damn those grifters. How dare they grift?
Thank you. That are only rallying the troops and trying to get people to play this game for one reason. To make Pokemon.
By the way, if you think this is a joke, this is not a joke. I think Vera Dark is the most prominent person when it comes to being called a grifter because she didn't play the game, and then called a grifter because she did play the game. Like, unironically, every road leads to grifting. It's a great road.
On fans mad. Guys, that's just a side benefit. The ego on these guys is just absolutely absurd. What many people fail to realize is the vast majority of people that are playing Palworld right now, they're Pokemon fans or former Pokemon fans. Or they're people that have always wanted to get into one of these games, but maybe it just
I think Palworld should sue Pokemon for trying to rip their game off.
didn't suit them for whatever reason. It wasn't mature enough, maybe, or maybe, I don't know, they just didn't want to have to buy a whole console just to be able to do so. Nintendo is the one that opened this door. They're the ones that let Palworld through. That needs to be recognized. So today, we're going to roll around in the mud a little bit, maybe sling a little bit of it ourselves. We're going to set the record straight, and we're going to talk about how Palworld's success isn't even over yet. Hell, it's probably not even begun. This thing's only going to get bigger. Normally, I don't circle back around to a topic. I like to stick and move when it comes to the things that I cover, but Palworld continued to gain momentum over the weekend, and
I grift one thing many of a time, okay? Listen, this channel has at least roughly 370 Starfield bad videos. Probably even more Bethesda bad videos, okay? I like to stick with the things I hate. I'm very good at it.
while my timeline has been filled with people that have been cheering on the game's success, there have been more people either defending Palworld or documenting some of the highest grade meltdowns and coping that I've ever seen from the darkest corners of the Pokemon fandom. And I think that it is very important to make that distinction because I don't think that these conversations are coming from well-adjusted fans of the largest franchise in history. No, I think that they are coming from the most terminally millennial rejects that have not only made a franchise, but a multi-billion-dollar corporation their god and their identity. I'm talking about 40-year-olds with Pokemon trainer profile pictures staking out your local Costco and Target in their Vaporeon is my waifu t-shirt while they're in there in the early hours of the morning just
Based.
so they can sumo wrestle each other for a box of Pokemon cards out of the fear that a mom of a 10-year-old might want to buy a pack or two because her kid came home with a good report card. Palworld's success has broken these people. No game should ever or can ever come close to the franchise that they've dedicated their entire lives to, and as Palworld's success has continued, these people have only fallen deeper into depravity.
Yeah, it's honestly pretty pitiful that you're someone who likes a thing, and because you like a thing, nothing can be better than that thing. I think that's honestly and ironically probably one of the saddest ways to live your life. You base your whole existence around literally just one thing. I constantly advocate and tell people that you shouldn't do it. It's inevitably gonna lead you to be unhappy because it's just not productive. It's not good for you. And you should be a little bit more open, but not too open to, new experiences.
Since my last video talking about the game, Palworld has somehow broken yet another milestone, climbing to a peak concurrent player count of over 960,000 players. That means Palworld has now entered the top 10 most played games in Steam's history twice over. First by breaking Counter-Strike 2 with 2.1 million players, and then now by returning and breaking past Elden Ring. These numbers are absolutely insane. They are shared by some of the highest selling, most popular, and most prestigious games in the entire industry, but for whatever reason, some people have decided that that simply just is not enough. In response to the latest peak, one person had said, "This would be impressive if it had doubled the early access launch peak, but it is currently below 50% of its peak CCU, and with only 16K new user reviews added since 1.0, that means
Oh no, such a tragedy. I mean, wow. Wow. Yeah, other games wish they failed like this.
barely anyone playing Palworld right now is a new player." They then doubled down later, saying that the game is completely and utterly a flop in Japan, citing that Japanese player reviews only made up 1% of the game's 442,000 global reviews.
In this case, the fact that Japan doesn't even matter. It's like, well, why? Because Pokemon has Japan? Well, Japan has Pokemon, I should say. Because of that, it matters how popular Palworld is in Japan? It doesn't matter. Well, no one's judging Palworld as a good game just because Japan decided it's a good game. This is probably the most insane take so far, honestly.
This is what happens when somebody discovers SteamDB before they discover statistical literacy. They have the this of the
Also,
game's
wait. Well, globally there are users on Steam in Japan. Also, there are users. Oh no, okay, she's right about the. She's right about the thing. Okay.
400 and discover SteamDB before they discover statistical literacy. They have the concurrent player counts, percentages, review totals, regional breakdowns. They got the whole forensic investigation laid out right in front of them, and yet somehow they understand less about Palworld's performance than somebody that looked at that chart for about 5 seconds. A non-live service game brings
Unironically, this is probably the most unique turtle design that I have ever seen in my life, and I'm not even kidding.
bringing back nearly 1 million concurrent players years after its launch is statistically absurd. Even Elden Ring, one of the most celebrated games ever made, returned roughly 70% of its original peak with a massive expansion. Palworld returning nearly half of its historic 2.1
Oh, geez, I actually forgot how well Elden Ring performed. Now, I'm not surprised, but I did forget about that fact.
million players
Impressive.
at its launch is not evidence of failure, it's evidence of an enormous existing audience returning alongside a flood of new players. And using 16,000 new reviews, or the percentage of Japanese language reviews from a predominantly console-based country to be able to calculate how many new people are actually playing the game is honestly ridiculous. The vast majority of players never even leave a review. They cite the 442,000 global reviews accumulated over the course of 2 years.
Yeah, as they would only be the real Japanese people playing. That is also pretty stupid.
But Palworld sold 15 million copies on Steam in its first month alone, back 2 years ago. Even against that opening month number, reviews represent less than 3% of players. They are trying to measure an ocean with a shot glass, and they're writing it down to the 6th decimal place. Japan makes this argument even dumber. It is one of the weakest major markets for PC gaming, with console players outnumbering PC players nearly 2 to 1 and mobile players nearly 4 to 1. Of course,
Japan has a cultural stigma against PC play, well, gaming in general, I should say, but it first dropped off against phones because obvious, yes, and then it's because it was the most accessible and easiest thing, and now it's slowly catching on in terms of well, consoles and PCs. So that's the reason, by the way, the Japan statistics are so kind of insane.
Steam reviews are going to be disproportionately low. According to Famitsu, Resident Evil Requiem is the
Yes, Vaporeon, but can't.
7th most popular game of the year in Japan, yet only 986 of its more than 104,000 Steam reviews are actually in Japanese. That's not even 1%. So what are these people even doing? They are speaking with absolute certainty about data that they never even tried to understand, let alone even verify. This is entry-level math, and this man is out here publishing Twitter dissertations like he completed the Human Genome Project because he just learned how to divide two numbers. Then we have people who wouldn't even
To be fair, that's above average intelligence. I'm joking, but it's becoming true.
be bothered to misread the numbers because they would much rather just deny reality entirely. Some people are claiming that the only reason that Palworld surged over the weekend was because, well, YouTubers and their audiences were just playing the game out of spite. Other people said that
Jesus Christ, these people always have. Like, this is the thing about these activists. They really always have, like, they don't even care. They probably don't even believe what they're saying themselves. They're just insane. But, I mean, they're gonna try. They're gonna try as they might.
well, the creators once worked in crypto, so they just kind of decided that every positive post about the game is coming from bots, scammers, or some coordinated campaign. And when none of that works, well, then they just throw their hands up and ask why anyone cares at all. One Nintendo content creator had said, as people spam Palworld's live player count, I ask again, why any of us care? There are likely 15 million people playing Roblox right now. Nobody seems to care about that. It's just being used to argue online. I wish none of us ever knew that metric. The idea that people are only bringing up a number to argue it is hilarious coming from the people that are actively arguing against that number. They care. They care so much that they desperately want everybody to stop looking at it. Why should we even know this metric? Is exactly what somebody would say when the scoreboard's still on and their team is getting blown out. That number matters because it gives us a real-time snapshot of how many people are playing a game at once. It helps us gauge how successful a game is, and we need that information because it's serving as a warning for how safe that game is for you to invest your time and your money into. As more games become dependent on live support, the last thing you want to do is buy into something that has no future. There are plenty of people saving their money right now because they didn't buy Marathon, even though there's a ton of people that are saying that, oh, it's one of the greatest games ever made, even though it's struggling to hold water. Only the most stalwart Nintendo fans could
I mean, Marathon always struggled, so this is not new.
look at this situation and decide, you know what, the real problem is too much transparency. But you know what, I'll tell you what, the real reason why people care about these numbers is the message they send. Pokemon has spent years in squalor, putting in the least amount of effort, generation after generation, while maximizing their profit.
After Pokemon are rip-off household objects at this point, there's literally an ice cream on and so much fucking random shit.
Profits the entire way through. Pokemon is the largest media franchise in history, generating more than $100 billion in revenue by 2024. And the only way that players are going to be able to make their voices heard over its loudest defenders and also its biggest spenders, people who seem completely happy with just eating shit, is for another game to come along with numbers that genuinely threaten it. Steam concurrent player counts give us those numbers, and on that top 10 peak concurrent list that I had shown, Palworld sits above Cyberpunk 2077, which sold 40 million copies, Elden Ring, which sold 30 million, Hogwarts Legacy, which sold 40 million. These are numbers that actively challenge some of Pokemon's highest selling and highest performing games. Palworld is multi-platform. It's widely accessible, and it gives people a reason not to choose Nintendo now that there is a real alternative that is out there. So when I see people that are tweeting Pokemon doesn't have to do anything because it's the largest entertainment franchise, or that they're floating theories that Sony is secretly
I mean, to be absolutely fair, this was true. This was true for Nintendo, Xbox, PlayStation, all of the places. All of the biggest games, the Pokemons, the World of Warcrafts. But as time passes, they have made bad decision after bad decision. And even more simply and worse for them, there have been other games that have dethroned them. Now, granted, it hasn't happened for World of Warcraft just yet, but soon, someday, it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. And Palworld did this to Pokemon. They have become complacent. Call of Duty thought that they... Is he going to say Call of Duty said the same thing and then they shut down? I feel that's the thing that Legendary Drops would mention. No. Maybe no? Anyway, Call of Duty, literally the devs were saying that they can make whatever the fuck they want. It doesn't matter how bad. It's never going to fail. Have you seen the newest Call of Duty? Battlefield 5 was a woke mess. They also thought that they can't really fail. They're always going to be where they are. All of these companies have ruined themselves because of stuff like this. But because, again, this was true. This was true for years. Call of Duty didn't have to do shit because it was the big dog. It didn't have competition. It lived like that literally for more than a decade. Close to two. No, wait, actually, how old is Call of Duty? 2-3 decades? I think 3 decades old. Call of Duty lived like a king in butter for decades, and now it got overthrown. Easy.
franchise, or that they're floating theories that Sony is secretly funding and running an online campaign against Pokemon, or that everyone celebrating Palworld is just pretending to like it just to spite Pokemon fans. I have to appreciate the sheer Omega level ego required to believe that any of this is about you. It's not about you.
These people give us conspiracy theorists a bad name.
It's about getting around you and reaching a franchise that has spent years shielded from criticism, a franchise that has left countless players behind while farming the blind faith of its most devoted consumers by serving them swill at a premium price. Palworld doesn't need to destroy Pokemon. It only needs to prove that there are millions of people that are out there that are waiting for someone to deliver something that Nintendo refused to. And that's exactly what this game has done. And it did so perfectly. It did so for half the price with no DLC, no microtransactions, or no live service. Unlike Pokemon, they make you fools pay for evolutions.
You know how bad Pokemon honestly is? I was a kid. I was 10 fucking years old. When we were talking about how we wish there were games with Pokemon where you could just walk around the world, collect Pokemon, and do things like that. We were 10. You know how long that ago was? At this point, more than like 23-ish. I need to Google how old I am. Not joking. That was like 23-ish years ago at this point. 23 years. Can you imagine that shit? 23-ish years ago. We were talking about how that's going to be the future. How much gaming has actually improved in that time. The abilities, the potential, the everything. And yet Pokemon still offers nothing but the most basic slop experience when it comes to these things. They never even tried to become better. Honestly, Pokemon deserves the worst because they never even tried to be a good game. They did the bare minimum since day one and never tried better.
What are you talking about? You're not even a part of this conversation anymore. You obviously don't even want your games to get any better. And these plutonium-enriched retards are coping harder than I have ever seen. And what makes this all so frustrating is that it's for their own benefit. This game needs competition. Pokemon and Nintendo as a company needs competition. Anytime any company or service or product is left to its own devices where it has no
Nintendo needs to go bankrupt.
Competition and it effectively has a monopoly, well, they switch from value creation to value extraction, and Nintendo has been running that gambit for decades now. Now, this is when I inevitably hear, but there are other creature collectors. True, but they've also proven that they are not adequate competition. They make fantastic games. Digimon Time Strangers was great. I loved that game. And I also heard that Monster Hunter Stories is also really good. But these guys have not made a dent. They've not.
I have heard also a good thing about Monster Hunter Stories. I don't know if it's true, but in general, I have heard good things.
Not even made a scratch, and they've been at it for years now. Decades in the case of Digimon. Palworld left a gaping wound. This game is massive. If you want anybody to blame for your favorite game being threatened, why don't you try blaming the company that left any room for competition? The company that put in the least amount of effort possible. The company that continued to charge you more while offering you less, and then sued anybody else that even tried to come between you. You're triggered over parody designs and the fact that another game exists other than yours. Absolutely pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. It's so sad to see. I would block most of these people if it wasn't so entertaining to see them melt down. But we're not done yet. No, we still got more because Palworld's not done either. Not only is this their second step towards their success, but this is going to be a continued success. And no matter what Nintendo tries to do, and no matter what lies people try to say, Palworld has become inevitable. So we've been kind of leading up to this, but the one thing that really motivated this follow-up video was the overwhelming amount of disinformation surrounding the Pocket Pair and Nintendo lawsuit. People have been spending years now framing that legal battle as something that it never was, while openly accusing Pocket Pair of a crime that they were never charged with. Plagiarism. That accusation was largely left hanging after the game had entered into early access, open to interpretation, and, well, much of that is to the fault of games media. Soon after Palworld had launched, a huge portion of the coverage consisted of games journalists and developers that were dragging the game for its creature designs and its premise. Eurogamer, quite literally just angry because the game was popular, PC Gamer, Eurogamer, IGN, VGC, GameSpot, Kotaku.
Oh, true. They're such losers.
All of these guys just kept circulating these claims about stolen assets, plagiarism, generative AI, and they were convinced that Pocket Pair had done something heinous. Yet, once the game had now reached 1.0, every single one of these guys is silent. Not a single one of these outlets ever went back to correct their accusations or the drama that they helped spread. The only retrospective coverage that I could find was from Dexerto, which had reported that the person that was claiming that they had discovered proof of the stolen Palworld models, well, they had actually altered those models to make the plagiarism accusations appear more convincing. And despite all of their reporting on the Nintendo's lawsuit against Palworld.
Now, keep in mind, since it was a game journal that did that, that's good and fine. That's actually the morally okay thing. Don't think about it. Just, the less you think, the better the world is, honestly, right?
None of these outlets ever bothered to mention that the lawsuit never had any claims of plagiarism. Their silence left the original narrative intact this entire time. The unhinged Nintendo fans have been feeding on it ever since then.
It's true, by the way. The lawsuit never involved plagiarism. It just involved similar gameplay mechanics. Because the reality is, like, again, Pokemon literally has shit that is a fucking ice cream cone. Okay, you can't copyright protect that. Okay, you can, but you get the point. That's dumb. Oh, this cat thing looks Egyptian. Oh, Palworld stole that from... Egyptians made a lot of shit look like cats. And bipedal humanish cats. They have literal gods that are cats. What are we talking about here?
We've been seeing these people ask genuinely how or why should anybody ever give Palworld a pass. Then someone responding to the claim that Palworld never stole anything had said, it's not a stretch, don't listen to that dolt. Palworld's first controversy was that it used AI in the character building process by feeding every Pokemon into an AI to mix and match them into new ones.
Wasn't this a lie? Wasn't this proven to be a lie, or am I mistaken?
Another one had said the developer has spoken highly about generative AI in the past. Palworld exists purely to create content.
I mean, listen, I don't even need a pronoun or flag in this Twitter profile. Okay, I know what we're dealing with.
Controversy and leech off the Pokemon brand. Now we have people that are yet again fabricating images of the new legendary creature Panthalis to make it resemble Kyogre, and the media is there once again helping them to circulate it through articles that perpetuate that lie. Then we see posts that are claiming that Pocket Pair changed the creature designs in 1.0.
By the way, I just want to also mention, you're fucking talking about a sea god that's a veil that has existed in many mythologies before. Like, bruv.
That perpetuate that lie. Then we see posts that are claiming that Pocket Pair changed the creature designs in 1.0 because of the lawsuit, and once again, journalists are helping to carry a completely false premise into a wider conversation when every, and I mean every, early access game ends up making massive changes to the designs just by full release. So I'm going to say this once. Pocket Pair was never sued over their creature designs. There is no plagiarism or trademark case. Nintendo's entire legal attack was built around patents covering gameplay mechanics that they believed that they had a right to control, including throwing a ball or an object to capture a creature, mounting a summoned creature, and more recently, touchscreen functionality used to
Yeah, by the way, if you did not know, this is not a joke. This is real. Nintendo did try to unironically sue Palworld because you can ride creatures. Effectively, Nintendo is unironically trying to claim that they own the concept of a mount. Yes. I mean, if anyone's gonna try to defend this, I'm sorry, but we cannot be friends.
Capture a creature. That's why so many of these journalists who quite literally cheered for Nintendo to sue Pocket Pair suddenly lost their voices once the lawsuits began. These cases had demonstrated that while some of Palworld's creatures were undoubtedly inspired by Pokemon, Nintendo was not alleging that Pocket Pair had stolen their models or plagiarized their designs. Instead, these people had summoned the devil and then wanted to cry about what they had done, crying about all these games that were going to get caught in Nintendo's crosshairs and how damaging it would be for the rest of the industry. That is also why a lot of these same outlets have now surrendered themselves to positive coverage. They're publishing guides, reporting on player numbers, and even celebrating the fact that Pokemon finally has competition, all without acknowledging the narrative that they helped create. Luckily, Nintendo has walked away with nothing.
It's not even the narrative they helped to create, it's the narrative they did create.
Losing their efforts in both the United States and also Japan, largely just due to the absurdity of their patents. I mean, come on, man. Some of this stuff is absolutely ridiculous, but apparently some of it's also because of Nintendo's most hated force in existence, fan-made games. The plagiarism accusation stopped having anything to do with evidence a long time ago. It has always just been this moral excuse that people have used.
Yeah, fun fact, the judge in Japan told Nintendo, well, if you're not gonna sue everyone over these fucking patents that you claim you have, which you don't, by the way, um, why aren't you suing anyone else? Why is it just Palworld, okay? Everyone is using your magical patents. There's billion Pokemon clones out there, but you're just kind of going after this one. It's a little bit strange. And the judge literally said, okay, I will allow this to go through, but you need to sue everyone else also. And Nintendo obviously did not, because we're talking about not one or two additional lawsuits. We're probably talking about maybe even multiple hundreds of lawsuits that Nintendo would have to create. And that's probably on the low side, honestly. So, yeah, needless to say, Nintendo got absolutely wasted. Anyway, that was Legendary Drops. Palworld is awesome. Go play it if you haven't. It's great, okay? This is not slavery, by the way, obviously. Slavery's not that effective, but Palworld's is, okay? So that's the reason to play it. 10 out of 10. Have a nice day. Bye.